First of all, I want to thank you, Rick, for inviting me here to SMU. I've always heard about it. I see y'all play on television. We can talk about that some other time. But I was sitting there listening to Brother Clarence and the Reverend talking about the death penalty, their experiences. Mine is fairly new. See, I've only been out just a little over a year. My ordeal took place back in 1992. I'm going to walk you down the path to how I was wrongfully convicted. That was a brutal crime that happened in a small county. 6 people were murdered. 4 of them were children. You had a grandmother, you had a teenage daughter. They were shot, stabbed, bludgeoned to death, and the house was set on fire to cover up, I guess, the crime. About a week afterwards, they had a funeral. And at this funeral, you had 6 caskets. 4 of them children. 1 was a teenage daughter and a grandmother. And at one funeral, there were 6 people being buried. And the whole community was outraged because this had never happened in a small town like this before, particularly at this time. I mean, before they even arrested someone, the mayor of that town came out and said that when they find out who did this, that they don't even want to hold a trial, they just want to hang them. They shouldn't even be allowed to have a trial. So that was outrage. And that put pressure on the local district attorney's office to find out who did this. Well, during the funeral, a guy showed up with bandages. He had bandages on his head and arms, and he became a person of interest to the Texas Rangers that were there. Now, this guy was the father of one of the victims. And he shows up to the funeral with a lot of bandages on him. So he becomes the suspect. After the funeral, they followed him home and asked if they could talk to him. He said yes. So they took him to the Department of Public Safety to interrogate this guy. Now, while they was taking him, and I want you to remember this here, there was a Jeep coming off the highway onto the field. And there was 4 black guys in the Jeep. Okay? One of the black guys they thought was me. They investigated and found out that it wasn't me. Now, this is going to be important as I move along, because I want you to understand just how easy it is to get caught up in this kind of system. So when they took him to the DPS office, they immediately began to interrogate him. They interrogated him for like 14 hours. Nobody knows what he said up until that time. But all we know that he was threatened, that he told that he was a baby killer, and that they would just let him walk out, shoot him in the head. Who would care about a baby killer? But if he just give them the name of someone who was with him, they would let him go. Remember I told you about the Jeep? So according to this guy, he said that because he thought that he had seen me in this Jeep on his way to the DPS office, he called my name. Not thinking that they would arrest me. He called my name and gave him a wild story because they told him that if he gave them a name or someone else, that they would let him go. So he gave him my name, made up a wild story. And afterwards, they arrested him, charged him with capital murder. And within hours, no investigation to find out if this man lied, anything. Within hours, there was a knock on my door. It was a Sunday morning. I'll never forget this. It was my neighbor. He knocked on my door, and I answered. And I said, hey man, what's up? He said, man, the police are looking for you. I said, for what? He said, I don't know, man, but they asked me if that's your car out there. I said, okay. He said, man, I don't know what to tell you. They just told me that they were looking for you, and I just came to knock on your door. I said, all right, I appreciate it, Mike. So, me being curious, I get up, get dressed, and I go downstairs to look for the police. Right? And let me just say this to each and every one of you. From my experience, don't ever go look for the police. No. Because, and the reason why I say that is because it took me 18 years to get back home. So I went looking for the police because I didn't know why they were looking for me. But I got the worst shock of my life. When I walk downstairs, the police cruiser pulls up, and I stop. And he gets out the cruiser, and he says, what's your name? And I tell him. And he said, well, can I see some ID? I give him my driver's license. And he said, well, Mr. Graves, I've been told to come pick you up and take you downtown for questioning. I said, for what? He said, well, I can't tell you. Officers are waiting on you downtown. They're going to tell you when you get there. I'm not thinking. I'm thinking, well, you know, certain parts of the year, if you got a ticket out there, pick you up if you haven't paid it. But I don't have a ticket out, so I'm kind of thinking, I have a ticket? So by this time, my neighbor comes out, and I'm telling him, because I had been waiting on my mother to come home. And I said, Mike, I have to go to the police station for something, man, but my mother's on her way home. Tell her, but I should be right back. That was August of 1992. I was released October 27th of 2010. I had 2 execution dates through all that time. Okay? I witnessed some of the worst inhumane treatment that man can inflict upon another man. When I got downtown, they asked me to take a seat in the booking room, and I'm sitting there, and officers are just running, they walking in and out, and nobody's talking to me. And I'm just sitting there 20, 25 minutes. So finally, I started asking every officer that came through, say, officer, could somebody tell me why I'm here? And they kept telling me, oh, don't worry. Officer's gonna come talk to you, just be patient. And I'm thinking nothing, okay. So I'm just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, 4 Texas Rangers walk in with a magistrate. And they say, you Mr. Graves? Yes, sir. You stand up. I stand up. And the magistrate started reading me my rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You probably heard it on television, right? Okay. So, and I'm just standing there. I have nothing on my mind. She just reading me my rights, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden she says, and you've been charged with capital murder, and you have no bond. And I'm thinking, me? Whoa, capital murder? That was a documentary on me, 48 Hours. I don't know if anyone of you seen it. But they had the initial reaction from the jail when I was told that I was being charged with capital murder. And if anybody have seen that, you would know I knew absolutely nothing about what was going on. So I'm sitting there saying, me? Are you sure? Who? Capital murder? Because I didn't even live my life like this. As an average guy out there working, I had 3 kids. You know, my life was good, I thought. I wasn't out there harming anyone. I was a no one's nightmare. But yet, the state of Texas was giving me one. Because they told me that now that I've been charged with capital murder, I have no bond. They want me to go and talk to them. See, they never investigated to find out that this guy actually tell them the truth or was he lying. They just came and arrested me, charged me with capital murder, and then started trying to build a case against me. I sit in jail 2.5 years waiting on trial. Why? Because there was no case against me. They just sit me there until they can figure out how to piecemeal a case to take me to court and convict me with. See, at this time, it wasn't about seeking the truth. See, the local district attorney had pressure on him now. This was a horrible, horrible case. And somebody had to pay for it. The mayor already spoke out about how when they find someone, just hang them. No trial, just hang them. And now I've been arrested. And I've been charged. But guess what? I don't know anything about this case. This case happened in another town. I had people who seen me at Jack in the Box the night before in another town come and testify. It didn't matter to me. It didn't matter. I'm going to tell you why. See, I stayed in jail 2.5 years waiting on trial. And right, every time my trial would come up, the prosecutor would always want to reset it, right? So finally, they came to me the last time and said, Mr. Gray, the prosecutor would like to know if you would be willing to reset this trial off for another year. I've been in 2.5 years already. I said, no. No, man, y'all gonna either try me or release me, man. Y'all had me up here for 2.5 years for something I don't even know nothing about. And then you asking me to wait a whole another year? I said, no. Y'all gonna try me. Well, with our criminal justice system, you be careful what you ask for. Because I pushed them to try me because, see, I was naive. I thought that when you're innocent, you go to court and you found to be innocent and you're vindicated. And the state apologizes, everything is all good, everybody walks away singing Kumbaya, right? It does not work like that. It does not work like that. There's no such thing as justice going on in our courtrooms anymore. There's no such thing like that. We have a failed and broken system today. Why? Because we're entrusting too many people to do things on our behalf without holding them accountable for it. Prosecutor has total immunity. This man tried to murder me and he hasn't missed one night of sleeping in his bed. Why? Because he had immunity. Our law says it's all right for the prosecutor to commit attempted murder on your lives. Oh well, he had immunity. But he put me and my whole family on death row. And he had immunity. So after 2.5 years, in October of 1994, finally, I'm going to trial.